Nah, I hope I'm not messing nothing up here on YouTube tonight. Hello, 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 and good evening. Happy Teachable Thursday. Happy Teachable Thursday. I thought I would come on with y'all for a minute and talk to y'all. And not gonna be with you long at all. Because I don't want these phones to start acting crazy. Y'all know it's after hours. But I wanted to come on. I wanted to come on and um give you an opportunity to ask questions that you may have about the I am Deborah summer course. And hello YouTube. Hello Instagram. Y'all see me with these phones. I'm trying to make sure everything is up and running. All right. Um hello, hello, hello. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to ask questions about the I am Deborah summer course. And of course you can always put your questions in the in the chat below, and I will respond to you. But I'm gonna also share some things. I'm gonna also share some things because y'all know I can't just come over here and just be, just on here. I want to come and talk to the people as well. So, Jesus be a fence. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. For some of you who may not know me or may be new to my platform, my name is Coach T. My name is Coach T, and I am a mental health wife coach and marriage consultant. So you're probably saying, so why are we talking about spiritual gifts then? Right? Why are we talking about spiritual gifts, right? As a mental health wife coach, one of the things I do is help my wives to be better and healthier her. And one of the ways I do that is by helping her to improve in her spiritual health, right? In her spiritual health. And so this falls right up underneath that part, right up underneath that. However, the I Am Deborah summer course is not just for wives. It is not just for wives. This course is actually open to women. Single, divorced, married, separated, not sure. This is open to all women 18 years of age and older, right? 18 years of age and older. And so I wanted to just come on and talk briefly about it. But for some of the ones who may have questions, who are may still trying to figure out, like, should I sign up? That's 5 weeks. I don't really know. Should I invest in myself this way? I want to talk to you about that and tell you now. If y'all see some chips on my mouth, excuse me, because I just had some chips. That's my fat girl. My fat girls show up after I come home from work. But anyway, if you have questions, you can always ask me questions in the chat, or you can just ask me questions. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just jump into what I want to share. I want to start this off with asking a question, right? Y'all see the question down there as the title, and that question is, why should I take a spiritual class? Why should I take a spiritual gifting class? Like, what is this about? Why is it so important? Who need this? Why are we even talking about this, right? And my response to that is everyone needs to know what their spiritual gifts are. You need to know what your spiritual gifts. You need to know what your spiritual gifts are. And the reason you need to know what your spiritual gifts are is because your spiritual gifts has a lot to do with your purpose. One of the questions I get all the time, even with my own wife clients, even when I come in contact with other people, they're trying to figure out, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Why God created me? What am I supposed to be on earth doing? I feel like I'm just wasting time. I feel like I'm just going through the motions of life. I feel like I'm just doing, a little bit here, a little bit there. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And it's like, you're not going to know what you're supposed to be doing if you don't do the necessary work that's required for you to find out. Now, y'all know I'm real big on coming on and sharing that you have assignments attached to your name. God placed us all here for a specific purpose. But if you don't know how to tap into your spiritual gifts, it's going to be really, really hard for you to figure out what your purpose is, right? It's going to be really, really hard. A lot of us have gifts that are dormant. A lot of us have gifts that we don't know why we, respond like this or operate like this, or why we, our personality is like this and what this is supposed to align with. There are a lot of things that needs to be discovered. And people don't necessarily take the time out to invest in something like this, right? A lot of times they are looking for the church to do types of workshops like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. I had my spiritual gifting class in a church, right? I did a spiritual gifting course in church. They had a workshop. It was very, very informative. I got a lot of information. But there's still more, and there was still more that I needed to learn and needed to gather, right? A lot of times people are not thinking about their spiritual health in that sense. They don't need see the need to invest in their spiritual health, because they feel like church is all we need. And I think it was a pastor, Darius, who said Sundays are just not enough. Sundays are not enough. It's a good place to come and worship, to gather. It's a good place to come and it's a good place to come together as a community. It's a good place, but Sundays are not enough. And so many times, people think that, well, if I go to church, then the church is going to teach me everything I need to know. And no one never goes into the next step of what's needed, right? What's needed. And it's like, if you are trying to make impact, right? Because a lot of people are not trying to make impact on the earth, right? But if you're trying to make impact, then there are certain things that you need to do. And there is an investment that you need to invest in your spiritual health, right? And then a lot of times, people feel like, well, I don't have to go to church. I don't got to do all that. I'm going to go online. I'm going to order my own book. I'm going to order I'm going to do my own little, assessment. And I'm going to, basically teach myself. Okay. And that's great. That's great. That's great. But the Bible tells us, get wisdom, get knowledge, get understanding, right? And sometimes we are limited. We are limited with our own information. And with that, when that happens, trial and error can come about, right? A lot of trial and error can come about. And a lot of times people can be walking into a place of being deceived. And so I'm not here to say that I'm an expert. I'm not here to say that I know everything it is about spiritual gifts. I'm not here to say that I know everything that you should, know. But one of the things that I try to share with my clients is how I got to the place of learning my spiritual gifts and where it kind of came from, where it kind of all came from. So just a little background information for some of you who may not know it. Some of y'all probably already heard this story or have heard something similar to this. I'm going to just kind of make it real small and condensed for you. But I wasn't thinking about no purpose. I wasn't thinking about that, okay? I was ready to get out of school like a horse was ready to gallop up across the field, okay? I was not ready. I was not ready for this. I'm not sure what this person is doing, so I'm going to... Okay. Okay. And so... I was not ready for that, right? I wasn't even thinking about none of that. But what I discovered is, you got to do something in this life, right? You got to do something. But purpose was not on my mind. Okay. I was ready to get out of high school. I was ready to get out my mom and them house. I ain't had no kind of God plan, no kind of Jesus plan. I ain't had none of that, right? I ain't had none of that. I wanted nothing more, even then, was to be married. That was my purpose. That's what I felt like my purpose was. That's what I felt like I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be somebody's wife. That was the only thing I had in mind when I was in, when I came, going through that young, I want to say as a young lady, a young adult, coming from out of, high school and going into my young adults, season or whatever. I wasn't thinking about that kind of stuff, right? And this is a lot of times why I try to emphasize the importance of singles, people who are freshly married, like the newlywed, ladies, people who are, maybe, going through a separation, or may have already divorced and get ready to start over. These are some of the things that you want to be doing. You want to be invested in yourself in this way. And this is a good way for you to start over. So all I wanted was, to be married. I had no idea who I was, what I was supposed to be doing. It wasn't something that we talked about. Like, we had like the basic thing, like, go to school, graduate, go to college, get you a good job, get married, have some children, the stuff that, the world may look at. We had that kind of plan. But as far as, well, who is God calling you to be? Who are you supposed to be serving? Who are you supposed to be helping? What kind of gifts that you have? How is God going to use you for the kingdom? That wasn't a conversation. And I was raised in the church, okay? But that wasn't a conversation. More things I heard about in church was how to, live a certain way and what I'm not supposed to do, that type of thing. But the spiritual gifts, no, that was not something that we talked about, or even purpose. That was not something we really talked about. I started college and I majored in human services. So I was a little bit on track. I always knew I was supposed to be doing something with the people. Okay. Originally, I wanted to be a teacher or a lawyer. Like, I knew I was supposed to be doing something in that sense. But once I found out how much school you had to do, no, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. And so I took that off the list. I was like, if I got to be in school longer than, no. I don't want to do that. I was looking for something a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. Okay. So that's how I ended up in the medical field, right? That's how I ended up in the medical field. And I ended up in the medical field. I've been in the medical field, and my son is 23 this year. So I've been in the medical field for 22 years. Long time. Okay. But going that route was a quick, program that allowed me to work a schedule that was doable for me and my children, me and my family. And I was also told you will always have a job in the medical field, right? You will always have a job in the medical field. And so I was like, baby, sign me up. I was sold, right? I was sold. I don't know who this person is, and it's bothering me. Okay. So I was sold for the in the medical field. However, I knew there was still something missing. I knew there was still something that I needed. I knew there was something that I was still, supposed to be doing, but I didn't have the words to articulate what it was. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was something more, right? The medical field did allow me to interact, with people, and use a lot of my spiritual gifts. And I found this out later on. I when I started and I moved here to Georgia 23 years ago, I was able to learn a lot of things about my spiritual gifts. And so I was able to use my gifts a lot in the medical field. And so there was one instance, I just want to share this with y'all real fast. There was one incident where it was this young lady that I used to work with. And baby, when you are like, trying to get saved for real, like I had been saved since I was like young. But once I got here and I started having marital issues and stuff, I got saved for real, okay? So once I got saved for real, you get real close to the Lord. You get real close to the word, right? And so I had been studying and reading it and, looking up stuff. I mean, the fire was hot, honey. It was hot. I was like, when you first start off walking with the Lord, you have this fire in you that you just want to just teach and preach and share and learn. And so I was in that position. I was in that place. And so I remember it was this young lady that I worked with, right? And I was fresh in, I think, in the story of, learning about Hannah and her, her situation. And I was studying the gifts of, I was studying the gifts at the time. And this young lady, she actually wanted to have a baby, right? She wanted to have a baby. And so I was like, I'm going, try to see if I can help her, right? I was in a place where I wanted to help her. So I told the girl to meet me in the back. She didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what she was getting ready to sign up for. She didn't know what was getting ready to happen. And I told her to meet me in the back, and I was going to, I want to talk to her or whatever. And so, sure enough, we met in the back, and, we ended up going outside. And so, I remember just like reaching out my hands and just start praying for her. I put my hands on her stomach and just start praying. I would just start praying for her, right? And so the girl was so nervous. I think she was more nervous than anything, but she just was laughing at me like, what are you doing, crazy woman? She called me a crazy woman and everything. What are you doing, crazy woman? And she was just laughing hysterically at me like, what's going on? And so I don't know if it really worked that time, right? I don't really know if me laying hands on her and praying, as I don't know if she ever had a child or what have you. I don't know, but I tried it, right? I tried it. Now, I had kind of gave up on that a little bit because I was like, well, maybe I'm like scaring people, or maybe that's too much. I'm being a little too extra or whatever. So I had gave up on that gift. But baby, many years later, when my husband got sick and was in the hospital, okay, and he was in the position that he was in, I took them same hands. I took them same hands and I laid it on him. And baby, my husband got healed. Come on, Jesus. my husband got healed, right? A lot of times when I'm working with patients, they will tell me, you got healing hands, or you got soft hands, or you got a soft touch. And so I've been, told about, my gift of healing, and that's something that God has been working with me on as well. So I say that to say, don't give up on your gift. If you are even fresh in it, or just now learning about it, or trying to figure out, is this something I'm supposed to be doing? Is it this and that? And this is one of the reasons why I am offering this summer course, right? This is one of the reasons why I'm offering this summer course. So the question I'm asking, I'm asking questions. I want y'all to ask questions too. Hey. The question I'm asking, and I want y'all to ask questions too, is why should you take a spiritual gifting class, right? Why should you take a spiritual gifting class? And there are several reasons, right? There are several reasons that you should take this class, right? Of course, to discover, who God created you to be, to activate and learn and discover your purpose. Like I said, a lot of times people have these gifts, and your gifts are connected to your purpose. But if you don't know how to use your gifts, how to activate them, how they line up with what God is calling you to, you're not going to know, right? You're not going to know. It strengthens your walk, with the Lord, knowing what your gifts are. It helps you to serve others. Our gifts are not for us, right? Our gifts are not for us. It's actually for other people. And so these are just some of the things, and some of the reasons why you should take a spiritual gifting course. Okay. It helps you to identify, understand, and activate your unique gift. It helps you to activate your unique gift. Now, some of the questions that I have been getting, or, being asked is, a lot of times I get people who ask questions like, am I prophetic? How can I tell if I'm if I'm a prophet? How can I tell if I'm this? How can I, they ask those kind of questions. A lot of times I get people who say, well, I don't really hear from God, or I desire to hear from God. A lot of times I just get, questions about, and this is with my own, like I said, my own wife clients. They want to know how can they hear from God? They want to know if they have a prophetic gift in. How do they know if they have a prophetic gift in? They want to know, a lot of times I have some wife clients who I see my wife on a regular basis, and I would ask them, how have you been using your spiritual gifts? How have you been perfecting using your spiritual gifts, right? And a lot of times it's like, well, I don't really know how to bring that about, or how I could use my gift in this place or in that area, whatever. And then a lot of times they are really really surface, right? They're really surface, and they really don't know. this is why I'm having this summer course, right? This is why I'm having this summer course. This course is for women. It's for women. It's not just for wives. It is for women, all right? The biggest part of learning about your spiritual gifts, like I said, is one, your spiritual gifts help you connect to your purpose. And we have assignments attached to our names. One of the things I always emphasize is we are not on our time, but we're on God's time, right? And you have a responsibility. You have an obligation to do your part. You have a responsibility and an obligation to do your part. God will sometimes place you on the right path. He'll place people on your timeline. He'll place people in your life. He will bring certain things into you. He'll bring things back to your memory, and you just know, right? You just know I'm supposed to be doing these things, or I'm supposed to be, getting this place, or be in this place, or I'm supposed to be doing these things next. One of the things I always tell my wife clients is, when you are going through a marital hardship, when you're going through a marital hardship, it's not so much that God wants you to just sit there and focus on your marital hardship and your marital challenges. God is trying to do something in you. God is trying to work something out in you. God is trying to create something in you. God is trying to build you up. He's trying to show you something about yourself, right? A lot of times, and I am that one, so I can speak on it. The clients that I work with, my wife clients, they came into these marriages without knowing who they were before they say I do, right? They entered into a marriage before even knowing what God purposed them to do. I didn't know that back then, right? I didn't know that back then. But I know that now, that was not necessarily a good thing, right? Yes, you're being a wife and your home is your ministry. Being a wife is the second thing after the Lord. But one of the things I always emphasize to my singles and the ones who are not married, why it's so important for you to search yourself and learn who you are and figure out who you are. And that sometimes requires you to invest in yourself. Invest into more than just, oh, well, what does the church have to offer for free? Or what can I get from the church? Or what kind of classes that we're getting from church? No, you need to invest in your spiritual health, right? You need to invest in your spiritual health. And so many times, wives have entered into these marriages without even knowing who they are, who God has called them to be. Now she going back and forth, and she got all these different things happening on the inside of her, and she don't know why she's responding this way, or she's evangelizing her husband and preaching to her husband, or she may have a nurturing gift, or she may have a teaching gift, or he may think that she's being controlling, but she's not controlling. She has a teacher gift, right? She may have this gift of encouragement. So sometimes a person may mistaken her for being too nice and cushy and come to you. You always got the right things to say. You always saying, give me something else. Why you always got something nice to say? It's a lot of gifts that are out there, and you need to know what is yours and how they are attached to your purpose. How they are attached to your purpose. Now, the next thing that I have, along with this summer course is not just that you are doing your spiritual gifting, you're trying to figure out your purpose, you should, figure out what God is, what God is training and teaching you and trying to show you about yourself. But a lot of times I work with prophetic women. I work with prophetic women, and they don't know a lot of times that they are prophetic. And so one of the other things that I want to help her discover is, how do I know I'm prophetic, and what area am I prophetic in? Who am I most related to? What person I'm most resemble prophetically? Or am I called to an office? Am I called to a specific space? Am I called to this space? I want to help wives to discover, not wives, I'm sorry. I want to help women to discover if they are prophetic or not. And a lot of times, right? You know, there are just certain signs that you get that like you may feel a certain type of way. You may get these type of impressions on you. You may hear God speak to you differently. God may show you specific dreams. You may have a certain type of burden that you carry. You may have a urgency to pray a certain way. Justice is like real big to you. That's mine, right? You may have this thing about justice and holiness and righteousness and truth. So these are some of the things that you would just know that, okay, I am. So now, if you know that you are, let's get you in alignment with where you're supposed to be and who you resemble, and how to get you in alignment with that in that area. All right. So yes, we're going to deal with the spiritual gifting. We're going to deal with your purpose, how to use your giftings, and how your giftings align with your purpose. You're going to also figure out if you are prophetic or not. And if you are called to a specific office, are you just a prophetic person, or are you an actual prophetess and you are called to a specific office, or you are called to a specific, area? So these are some of the things that we are going to cover in this course. And then when we're going to discover who you are, right? A lot of times I ask wise questions like that, like, so just tell me about you. If somebody was to say, mention your name, what would they say about you? What would they say about you? Who are you? And a lot of times they do not know, right? A lot of times people do not know. I ask simple questions like, what do you like? What do you enjoy doing? Some people do not know, but sometimes being in these types of spaces and being around other people that's, have the same similarities, it brings something out, right? It can bring something out of you. So a lot of times these places, it's not just about, oh, I'm paying this money to take a course, but it can also be therapeutic. It can also be therapeutic, right? And so we're going to discover and have you to dig in and see who it is that you are. And then one of my favorites, I wanted to do a segment called Woman to Woman. Right? Woman to woman. And woman to woman, it's basically after we've been talked about the gifts and we done did the work and we done had that kind of thing, you have an opportunity to share your questions, right? And it's like a mini little coaching segment, right? If you have a question, regardless of what it is, what you got going on, we're going to have a little mini segment, and I'm going to coach you woman to woman, right? Whether you are a single person, you got issues going on with your boyfriend and your boo, whether you are newly divorced or, separated or going through something marital, you got marital, stuff going on. We're going to talk about those types of things. I'll be able to, share some things with you. Maybe you saying, well, I don't have anything. I got some family issues going on, or I got some stuff going on with my kids. I'm going to speak to you woman to woman in that segment. So we're going to cover quite a few things, right? The overall objective of this course is to help you to be in alignment with God and what is next for you. Help you to be in alignment with God and what is next for you. What does your new season look like? What is the title and the name of your next? Where is God taking you from this place? And how does a spiritual gifting class benefit you from where you are on your journey now? Right? How will a spiritual gifting class help you? So this course is all about helping that woman look into herself, right? This is how I help my wife clients. It's all about looking inwardly, right? Looking inwardly. So we're going to pull some stuff out. I have a gift where I'm able to speak to certain ones and I can pull certain things out of them. I have a gift where I can, speak to certain things, and sometimes God will speak something to me to share and drop into their spirit. And so I like to use these small type of settings to be able to utilize that time to do those type of things. So it's not like, oh, we're going to be doing work. Yes, we're going to be doing work, but I always allow the Holy Spirit to guide and lead us accordingly when it comes down to those types of things. Okay. Yes, the course is called I Am Deborah. It does not necessarily mean that, oh, you are a Deborah, right? You may not necessarily be a Deborah. I use I Am Deborah because that's who I most resemble as a prophetess. You may be someone else, right? There are plenty other prophetess and prophets in the Bible. So you may have another mantle that goes along with your prophetic gifting, if that's what it is. So we're going to discover who that is. So I don't want you to get caught up in that. Well, I'm not a Deborah. I don't think I'm a Deborah. No, it's not about you being a Deborah. That's who I am, and so that's why I titled this way. But you may have a gift of Elijah, right? You may have a gift of Joseph. You may be a dreamer. You may be what they call it, a seer, right? God may speak to you through visions and through dreams. So there are many ways that you could resemble other prophets and prophetess in the Bible. It's not just for the ones who feel like they are Deborahs, right? And so I want you, if you have not already signed up to take the spiritual course, the spiritual gifting course, summer school. I am Deborah course that starts June 22nd. I want to encourage you to go now to Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite. I'm going to share the link where you can go and register. Once you register, wait to receive an email from me, and I will tell you then how to secure your sessions, right? How to secure your sessions. Unfortunately, this is a class that has to be paid through uh, Apple, Zelle, or Cash App. All right. I had one young lady say, I want to use my credit card. This course, I'm not taking credit cards for. So this is something that those are the only methods of payment that you can make the payment. The course is only $325 for 5 weeks. $325 for 5 weeks, a 90-minute session that we would have every week, except the week of 4th of July. We would not meet the weekend of the 4th of July. But we would meet those 2 weeks, June 22nd, and the week after, I think, is June 29th. It's going to have a whole rundown. We're not meeting on the 4th of July weekend, then we meet for the other 3 weekends in July. Come find out who you are. The early bird special is still active. You have up into Sunday, June the 8th, before that expires. And then the price increases. $25 more, right? I've had some women who say, can I do a payment plan? Yes, you can do a payment plan. However, the payment plan does raise up your price, right? So that's why I was sticking to the set fee of $325. That's we meet for 5 weeks. It comes with a booklet or a curriculum. And then, like I said, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. You have opportunity to interact with other women, like-minded women like yourself. You have an opportunity to be in this type of setting, and you will also have an opportunity to be a part of the I Am Deborah community, which means after this course is over, after we do the summer course, you will then be able to be a part of our monthly community where we will meet monthly, where we are still helping you to grow your gifts, or help you to get better in your gifts and mature in your gifts, and we will still be able to have these ongoing things on a monthly basis, and that way you don't have to pay the full price. All you now pay is, if you did the course, you will only pay $25 to meet once a month for the community, where you would still be able to have access to your coach, where you would still be able to ask questions. I not only did this for the spiritual gifting, but I also did this for the ones who were saying, well, Coach T, I have wanted to have a session with you. I have wanted to be able to come, and they have not been able to. This is an opportunity for you to start. This is the opportunity for you to invest in your spiritual health. I am all about equipping women to be a better version of herself. I don't just call my ladies his wife or nothing. Yes, I'm a wife coach, but I help wives. I help women to be a better version of herself. I help my wives by helping them be a better version of herself, being a representative of Christ. You are the bride. You are the bride. We as Christians are the bride of Christ. And so this is one of the things that God has gifted me to do. And I want to be able to download some wisdom, some knowledge, some revelation, give you some understanding, answer some of your questions, be able to have some girl talk, chit chat with you a little bit, and answer some of your questions that you may have. If you have additional questions for me, you can always reach me at my website, www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. June 8th is the last day for the early bird special of the $325 for these 5 weeks. June 22nd, the course starts. Go to Eventbrite, register. Once you register, I will send you over the link and send you over the information for you to be able to secure your slot. Y'all, if you want to know how to use your gifts and what your purpose is, you need to know what your gifts are and how to use it first, so that you can then connect with what my purpose is, okay? You need to know who you are in the Lord. You need to know who you are as an individual. You need to know how these gifts are working for you. You need to know what it is that God is calling you to do in the kingdom. One thing I always tell my wives, you are not just a wife, all right? You're not just a wife. You have other earthly assignments, and other people are waiting on you to invest in yourself. Other people are waiting on you to invest in yourself spiritually, to invest in yourself mentally, to invest in yourself emotionally. Other people are waiting for you to become a better version of yourself so that you can be able to go and help them, right? We are not here on earth on our own. We are here We have assignments attached to our names. And there's other things that God is calling us to do. All right. For Coach T, this is one of the things that God is calling me to do. So I want to encourage you to get on board, take this summer course. It's no different than, how they had, Bible, how they had like, vacation Bible study, something like that during the summertime for the young ones when they was doing that. It's no different than that. It will be on a Sunday. The classes will take place on a Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Replays will be available up to 1 week. Replays will be available up to 1 week. So if you say, well, I wasn't able to make the class or whatever, okay, replays will be available up to 1 week. The only thing about replays, you don't get the same interaction, right? You don't get the same interaction, but you will have an opportunity to watch the replay if you're not available. And like I said, that video will be that Zoom will be available to you up to 1 week. All right. Listen, I'm looking forward to seeing y'all in the I Am Deborah summer course. Reach out to me if you have any additional questions. www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Thursday. I'll talk to you soon. Blessings.